Hey, it's Todd Welsh. Welcome back to the Community Leader Podcast. And my guest today is John Huseman, the founder of the Ark Church here in Salina. We're going to talk to him a little bit about how he founded the Ark Church, what brought him back to Salina. He's a Central High graduate, starting the church in around 2018, going to his new building in 2020 at his current location. We're going to talk about the grocery giveaway that's coming up November the 18th and how he supports the community that way. We're going to talk about his family, his faith, what he hopes for the community, and then most importantly, that right now he's volunteering at the Central High Mustang on the inflatable helmet. So when you get to a Mustang game, look for him down there. Anyway, help me welcome a great community leader, John Huseman. Say hello, John.
Hey, good to see everybody.
Yeah. Before we get started, though, we're holding
Yes.
the mochas.
Yes.
And I called you this morning and said, hey, what do you want? Because the Mocha's Minute. Thank you to Mocha's for sponsoring the podcast. And tell the crowd here what you're sipping on.
My favorite drink is the iced chai tea latte with almond milk. Almond milk is the kicker. So you get almond milk and it tastes wonderful. So
Nice.
thank you, Mocha's. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Yeah. I went and got that this morning for you. And I had to look at my phone and ordered exactly the way that you wanted. You know, not too much almond milk, not just a spritzer of this. You said shake it lightly. You know, it had all this.
Yeah.
The special straw.
The longer your coffee order is, the cooler you are. So, yeah, I can't just say, give me a nice coffee. I have to try to,
You got to throw something in there
Yeah.
with a pinch of sugar, a little spice, pumpkin spice, something like that.
2 pumps of this, 2 pumps of that.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thanks again to Mocha's. We'll be sipping on this throughout the deal there so we can enjoy that. But anyway, welcome to the Community Leader Podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, it's what's honored for me. I got to tell you, we're going off script a little bit because I said we're going to talk about your family, but you're maybe episode, I'm going to say 17, maybe 18.
That's my lucky number. So
Okay,
yeah.
good.
17
Let's
or
go
18.
with 17,
Whichever
somewhere
one
in
that
there.
is,
Yeah,
that's my lucky number.
That's your lucky number.
Yeah.
And when I was calling you on the phone, it may be the first person I was calling going, I don't really know what to say. Like it was an interesting, because I don't know you that well.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you in the community. What's going to come out later that's funny is I think we were neighbors
Okay.
for a short amount of time. Did you actually ever live on Morris Drive?
When I was in college,
Okay.
so when I came back to see my parents, they were I
Okay,
was
so
like,
you didn't live. So
No.
I was feeling bad. I talked to my wife
Yeah.
this morning. I was like going, okay, I think this guy was our neighbor, but I don't even know that.
I left for college, and then they bought a nice home. I was like, oh, thank you guys. You know,
Okay,
just-
yeah. So to be fair to people listening, you lived maybe, and these were large lots, and
Yeah.
so you were down the street
yeah.
a little bit, but obviously I knew your family, and your dad is our vet.
Okay.
So your dad is our veterinarian, and I knew your mother from real estate.
Yep.
And so I knew the family, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I had heard of you. And then obviously, you know, you moved away, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. So tell the people watching in a minute or less your current family and what it looks like today.
So we have 4 children, and strategically, we wanted every boy to have a mom. So we have our oldest daughter, Brooklyn, who's a senior, then followed by Jonathan, who's a freshman. Then we have another daughter, Naomi, who is a 6th grader, and we have Sam, who is a 3rd grader. So we got 4 kids, pretty busy stuff going on right now. So been married for 20 years, celebrated 20 years, married to my wife, Lindsay, and so just love it. Love being here, love being in Salina, and a very active life.
Yeah. So at some point in your life, somebody was in diapers all the time at your house. Couldn't get away from those.
Couldn't get away. We're just like, we're in it. Let's just keep going.
Hopefully we've outgrown the diapers at your place.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't outgrown the ability to have children stop coming into my room. So it's like, okay, there is not very much privacy at the Huseman house.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's dive into the Ark Church. I got to say that, again, I think this is what I know about what you've done, okay? Didn't know much about you. I heard your name being mentioned, the Ark Church starting. Was it always the Ark Church, even when you were at Central High School? Is that kind of where you guys started, in the auditorium?
Yeah. We, so probably back to 2016, I had been an associate pastor, a youth pastor. I was started off in Colorado Springs, then went to Durango, then ended up in Conroe, Texas, which is a suburb of Houston. 2016, I was really praying about starting a church somewhere. I didn't know where to start a church. And our senior pastor, we had a great relationship when we were talking about where do we want to start a church? And so I kind of always thought, well, I'll be somewhere in Texas. When you're in Texas for a while, they brainwash you and think everything is greater and better in Texas. So I had been brainwashed a little bit. So we went to
And how did you get to Texas?
just it ended up just kind of being a thing where I was at a church of about 400 people. The pastor at the Ark Church in Conroe, Texas, he heard about me from my wife's sister, and almost just being like a God thing that he just hired me. So I went from a church of 400 as an associate pastor to a church of 4,000 as an associate pastor. And so that was an incredible experience, being on a staff where Christmas is 12 to 15,000 people are coming to church. Wow. Easter, 12 to 15,000 people. We were doing outreaches where we were feeding 10 to 15,000 people during a Thanksgiving outreach, during an Easter outreach. So the scale was it just blows your mind. You're organizing 1,000 volunteers for these different things and everything. So I got like a master's class in what amazing culture looks like, amazing church looks like, healthy culture, all that. So I was on staff. There's probably 60 to 70 full-time staff on our church in Conroe, Texas. And so our pastor had always had a heart to say, I want to raise up guys that want to go out and be senior pastors. So after 9 years of being on staff, he was kind of saying, what's your next step? Your next step, I would fill in and preach for him. I was a department head on the executive team. Great culture. So I'm coming to Salina for my sister's wedding. I used to tell people I married my sister. That's not true. I try not to say that. So I'm telling people I officiated my sister's wedding. So we had a great wedding. It was on a Saturday night. And Monday morning, my mom unexpectedly passed away. So it was 2 days after my sister's wedding that my mom passed away. We ended up doing a funeral in the same church that we did the wedding. So we did a wedding on Saturday, and then we did a funeral on Thursday morning. And my sister actually came back from her honeymoon, because my sister lives in Chicago, my brother lives in Phoenix, and I lived in Houston at the time. So none of us were here. And during that time of just trying to get my mom's estate in order and trying to figure out that's a lot of people have dealt with way more pain than me. And I realized that for me was the most painful thing I've ever gone through. And I was really searching, really seeking God. And he just kind of dropped it in my heart, like Salina is the place. And so I'd never really thought about it. I'd never really even considered it. I'd looked at these other places in Texas, but he just dropped it in my heart that Salina is the place I've called you to start a church. And my wife said, it's almost like a garage door has been opened and we can finally see. Like we weren't able to see, but then we were able, okay. So that's 2016. And so then talking to my pastor, talking to, him, he was in full support of that. So it's kind of a blessing when your pastor supports you.
Yeah. You just said a lot in there that I'd like to unpack real quick. Okay. Number one is, where's your wife originally from?
She's from all over the place, but her family is now in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But
she wasn't from Salina. So when you said you had a calling for Salina, obviously she knew that's where you're from. She'd been here visiting. Yeah. And so she was totally on board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've never lived next to family, and she's never been close to family. So when we were in Colorado or Texas, we just felt like this was where the Lord was calling us to go, and we just moved there. So when we moved back here, I told my dad, you got a lot of free babysitting to make up. I mean, I've been paying for babysitting for years.
Yeah, and I know your dad, and I don't know how well that would go.
He loves it, actually.
He loves it?
Yeah,
okay,
he loves
good.
it, so it's great.
Good. The other thing I heard in there that just struck me out there is you said you were at the Ark Church down there. So the Ark Church is a spinoff. How many Ark churches are there? I thought that was your own kind of thing. So is that I'm going to call it from a business aspect, is that like a franchise?
So yes and yes.
Okay.
So it's not a franchise. We're totally independent. When he told me about going back to Salina, I said, there's a Bible verse in Hebrews 11:7 that says, by faith, Noah built an ark for the saving of his household. And I feel like God's called me to go back to Salina to see my household saved, to see other households saved. I know you're called the Ark. Would you allow me to also be called the Ark? And he just said, yeah.
Wow.
So we are fully independent. He doesn't have any. He's on my overseer board, and he's a great support for us. He actually he paid for my salary the first year and a half, so I didn't have to get a second job. I could just focus on ministry. So he kept me on staff, kept me on health care, kept me on all the things, just because he's like, I believe in you. I believe in what God's called you to do. So so we're not a franchise, but we do have the same name. Yeah. And I see that a lot where there's, in almost every community, there's like a new life church or a new community church or a new spring church or a new,
Well, the other thing, and you keep hitting back on this mentor guy or the gentleman you were just talking about. But one thing I picked up in there is how he said to you, or he's mentoring people to move on. Mm-hmm. Is that kind of what you said?
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, because most people, and that's the willing heart inside there, is to move people on, because most people want to, once they find somebody, they want to keep you.
Yeah.
They don't want you to grow because it's easier on them. You know what I mean? Like, it allows them to grow if all the fundamental stuff is taken care of. It allows the top person to grow. And I love that. Like, you just passed over that, and I went, like, that's, to be around somebody like that who believes in you enough that says, look, my mission is for you to be here a short amount of time, and then you to grow and go get your own congregation. I mean, that's...
Yeah, being under a really secure, strong leader is amazing, because they're not threatened by you. Pastor Alan Clayton, like, he wants to get as strong of leaders on the team as possible, and just let you flow in your gifting, let you do what you're called to do, and he's not threatened by that. He's not, trying to hold you back. So I'm trying to be like him.
I was going to say, is that your leadership style? Is that kind of what you're striving for?
I'm trying to get the best people, the strongest people right around us, and just let them do whatever they're called to do. So that is the hope. Yep.
Do you have an associate pastor now? Your wife, is she in that as well, that role?
She helps out a lot. She's with 4 kids and everything that's going on. She's there. She helps do all kinds of stuff, a lot of kids ministry stuff. But we have an associate pastor now. We got a couple of part-time staff right now, and we have an incredible volunteer base. So for us right now, where we're at, it takes over 100 volunteers to make a Sunday go. So there's 100 volunteers coming in, serving every single Sunday, just so that we can minister to people.
Now, we have to give one mention to a guy we were talking about earlier, because he came into my life and set this all up.
Okay.
And his name's Taylor.
Yep.
And Taylor runs your, what would you call that? You call
Probably like the worship ministry.
Worship ministry, yeah. But is amazing in lights and he does all of your videoing and all of that stuff that's on there, which again I think is amazing. What you guys do, if people can't make it to church, it's like video recorded, it's live. I mean, it's the deal.
For a lot of us, it was like COVID hit, and it's like you're shut down. And so Taylor Trickle is amazing. He's got his own company in Wichita called Valhalla Media Company, and so he does our worship. But he also is like, we got to get online, because at that point in the church, we had started at Salina Central High School. We're able to grow. It was great. But when COVID happened, they weren't even having school. So we couldn't have church. We couldn't. And so he transitioned us to online. And so thankfully, even every Sunday now, we're online. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. It's on our website. So I don't know what I would do without Taylor.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting to see how that evolves, because, again, I think of the Ark Church, and you're the face of the Ark Church. Same as I'm somewhat the face of SalinaHomes.com is starting it, but you and I both know it's the people who we surround ourselves with who then have the ideas, who move it forward, who make it, and then pretty soon you look at what you've created in the community, and it's been snippets of everybody helping you along the way, propping you up, making you look good.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate that, don't you? It's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, it's like, and I've watched that happen for you, but it just hit me right now going, okay, I mean, I think a lot of you, but I'm sitting there going, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
You can't get where you're going without the support of your community, And I actually posted on if you go to my Facebook page, it's a picture of me going, hey, we went to Mocha's, and I get to talk to John today, and I'm most intrigued to know how he built a community within the community.
Yeah.
Because you truly do. The people I talk to who go to your church, like they are, like that's their community.
Yeah.
And that comes from you, that from a leader. I mean, you have to lead that. If they didn't feel that,
Yeah.
they wouldn't wake up every morning, get all their kids ready and the struggle and all that stuff, what it takes to get to church.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they didn't feel like the message when they got there was going to be strong enough for the, what do they say? The environment is 10 times stronger than your willpower. Like everybody wants to go to church, but if they go there and it's not the right environment, you'll always find something else to do.
Yeah.
So whatever you're doing something right, because the environment that you've created for the community that you've done, again, that's why you're here. Like I don't know how to articulate it on here, but I've watched what you've built, and I think it's really exciting.
Well, in my mind, every single position matters. So we got guys in the parking lot that if you have to park far away, they got a golf cart. They get you on that golf cart. They drive you to the front door. Then as you come in the building, there's people smiling saying, we're so glad you're here.
Yeah.
Like, I think it takes a lot for people just to get up, get dressed, have a fight on the way to church, and then say, shh, no more no more
Be the
fighting.
happy family when you walk in the door. Yeah.
Of course, right?
Yeah.
But they're walking in, and I want them to walk into an environment where it's welcoming, it's kind, it's friendly.
Yeah.
So then we got people behind a kiosk, and they can get free coffee. They can get some donut holes. Thank you, Carol Lee. We need you every Sunday. And then you can take your kids. And so your kids, there's 7 different kids' classrooms. So we have a 1-year-old room, a 2-year-old room, a 3-year-old room, a 4-year-old room. Like your grandkids,
Right.
Mason and Park,
Right.
they can have their own room and really enjoy it. So, if you don't have friendly people taking care of your kids, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have somebody that can make it sound good, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then if you come in and you feel like you're not part of this, so it's like every single person matters. So I say that, honestly, I am one part of this whole entire thing of trying to help people connect to God. And I just try to make it simple.
Yeah.
I tell people almost every Sunday, like, my agenda is to get you as close to God as possible. That's it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what God wants them to do, but I want to connect them
One
to
simple
God.
mission, like
That's
one
it.
thought.
Yeah.
I like that. Let's move forward into the calling of the location you're at now. Give us the address so people who are watching don't know exactly where you're located.
We are located at 2020 South Ohio Street, which is a pretty cool story. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard bits and pieces of the story. I don't know what the truth is. We don't need to go deep into it from there, but it's right next to Planet Fitness.
Yep.
Tell us the snippet of that, because you were at Central High School, and I'm assuming you were looking for a brick and mortar and a calling. I'm sure you were praying for God to find you the right location. I think one of the best things that you did, whether it was purposeful, is that you're not in a church. What most
Gotcha.
people think is a church.
Yeah.
You're in, I don't want to call it a strip center, but let's call it what it was.
Yeah.
But what you did on the outside, doesn't look like a strip center anymore. But it's not your traditional church. It's not what we would think of as a church. So tell me how that happened as much as you want to. Would you change anything? Would you, what's really working for you in the location you're at?
I was so thankful to get to Salina Central. When I first moved here, I took a couple of our elders and we were looking at different brick and mortar locations. And the first place I went to is the place we're in right now. And at the time, for about 1/3 of the space, they wanted like 1.8 million, which I actually thought that was a pretty good deal. I had 0.0 million at the time. So
why not shoot for the stars though?
yeah. So
Could have been 12 million. It didn't matter. Yeah.
So then we looked at this location. They actually told, I thought I was going to be in a different location, and about 2 months out, they told me no. So I've been telling people we're starting a church.
They who told you no?
Well, there's just a different organization here in town.
Okay.
So 2 months out, I've been telling people we're starting in January. and I don't know where to go. I have no place to go. I've been told no by Salina Central. I've been told no by Salina South. I've been told I don't have money to do. Yeah. So I go back, and Salina Central, it works out. And what's really, really cool about that is the first time I ever talked about how God had changed my life was in the Salina Central Auditorium for my baccalaureate, which when I graduated high school, they have this Christian ceremony. I was one of 4 people that spoke. And then 20 years later, I'm back in the same auditorium on the very first Sunday talking about how God changed my life. And so, that Sunday there was probably 20 people that raised their hand, gave their life to the Lord. And so it was really, really special to be there. But something about having your own building. So COVID hit, we're not able to be anywhere. And I actually got approached by the current location. So there was a group that owned it out of Utah, and Jeff Mays and those guys at Compro Realty, they really helped us, and they said, well, just make them an offer. And I was like, I don't know what to offer. So we offered them $20 a square foot, and they said yes.
Now, do you have Planet Fitness too?
No.
You don't own that, so that building is separated. So
Yep.
it's Planet Fitness, then you have everything from their south.
Yep. So just to get that kind of commercial space for that cheap is a total miracle. So then we took a step. This is 2020. You don't know what's happening. Right. No one knows what's going on. This is March, April, May of 2020, and just feeling like this is what God's leading us to do. So we took a step of faith, built out phase 1, and then just kind of as the church started to grow, we started to do phase 2 and everything. And something about having an actual place, people think you're more legit. They're like, what's that portable church in Salina Central? So it's just really helped us. And there's people that drive by Ohio Street every single week, and it's cool that our address is 2020, because that's just a good reminder of 2020 seemed like everything was going downhill. Everything was, pretty bad. And God just kind of, in my mind, it's a miracle.
Yeah.
It's a miracle story that we're where we are right now.
Well, and that's what I'd heard in the community. When I say I've heard that, I heard there was a higher being that put it in your lap. Yeah.
I'd like to be like, I was so strategic and I was so smart. They had to call me. They had to call me and say, we think you should be here. Yeah. So, it's not part of my strategic plan or anything like that. It's just God being good to us.
Let's talk about you being a community leader in would I call it a congregation?
Yeah.
Do you call yours a congregation?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about your congregation and what you guys are doing in the community. The big one we want to go to is the Thanksgiving Day.
The grocery giveaway.
Giveaway, which is, again, I think it's amazing, but you were saying you came from Texas and you did 15,000 people, and currently you're serving how many, and that's coming up this Thursday,
It's the Saturday before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So this year's November 18th, I think.
Okay. So November 18th. Tell us how that came about, and then how that happens, who donates to it, where the location is, and then if somebody's watching this and they want to donate, where they would send it, and then maybe how it all, people line up on the airport runway and all that. So I'm going to let you go at it for like 5-8 minutes and tell me how it was birthed, what you need, and how it improves the community.
When I was an associate pastor in Texas, we would do a Thanksgiving outreach, and we would make meals for people, and we would go to like 15 different locations all around the county. Now, the county we were in was Montgomery County, which was 520,000 people, huge. But something about that was like we did all this work, and I would just send people home with a meal. And we used to do it on Thanksgiving Day. Well, I just thought that was a lot of work just to give people one meal. So when I came here, we decided we're going to give people 2 weeks worth of groceries. So it's free. So basically, people bring their car to Dean Evans Stadium, and they don't have to qualify. They don't have to give their ID. They don't get an invite to the church. If they are humble enough to say, I just need some help, we give the first, however many, that's how many people we help. So they get 2 weeks worth of groceries. And And so last year we did 600, the year before with 500, 400. So we've been able to help that many families. So typically what I've heard is, each car represents 4 or 5 people. So we're giving people 2 weeks worth of groceries, and really our church is the main support. I actually kind of applied for some funding, and I applied for this thing, and I applied for this thing, and I got rejected and I was kind of like, I'm giving away free food. Like, what? And I just kind of felt like the Lord was like, no, like, this is what I've called you, your church. The church is supposed to do this. So costs of groceries are not cheap.
Right.
And so thankfully we go through F&A Food Sales in Concordia, and that's my uncle. So my uncle, Danny Farhall, runs that company. So he gives us their cost. So we're able to give people, 2 weeks of groceries for basically half the price. And so it takes about 400 to 500 volunteers. And so it's the Saturday before Thanksgiving, and there's a crew that starts serving at 5 a.m. All the way through about noon. And if people want to give to it, they can go to our website, thearksalina.com. There's a link there if they want to volunteer for it. I need about 400 volunteers to be part of that. So,
and there's a video. I was out on your website today, and there's a video from last year, a drone video.
Yeah.
And it's impressive. I mean, what you pull off, not only from the goodness of what it's doing for the community, but again, to pull that off, that it runs smoothly and the people are driving through and all the volunteers and how you got there. I mean, that's a huge event.
Yeah. I love it.
I mean, the community's blessed.
I love it because there's really just one agenda, just to feed the hungry, help those in trouble. So there's a Bible verse in Isaiah 58:10, and that's what it says: feed the hungry, help those in trouble. And so that's just our way. Thanksgiving time, it's like I want people to enjoy Thanksgiving with their family, to feel like they have a little bit of hope. So if people are humble enough to come out there, we just try to bless them.
It reminds me of, I'll give credit out to Bill Ficus. Does that name ring a bell to you at all? So the Bill Ficus dinner used to happen, and he would be out at Applebee's.
Okay.
And I think it's even on Thanksgiving Day. It's either, I don't know that he does it anymore, but he was feeding maybe at Kenwood Hall for a while. He would cook it for Thanksgiving Day, and if you needed a Thanksgiving meal, it was all free, and you would go there. Well, then somehow he moved it to Applebee's, and Applebee's donated their time. And I don't know if the Bill Ficus dinner goes on anymore. It still could. I'm not sure. But that always reminded me of that, of the willing heart to give on that special day. And when I heard what you guys were doing, at first I was like, oh, okay, there's no way this guy's pulling that off.
And I'm not, but
well, I know
our
that,
whole
but I'm
team
saying,
is.
but you know what I mean? Like I heard how many you were serving, and I heard what you were doing, and I know what we do at our company in a small amount. I'm like, okay, for us to be able to pull off a small event and how much that takes, and so for what you were doing, it's impressive. And then I saw the video.
Yeah.
And
it's a 90-second video, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Yeah, I think we'll throw the link down in the comments here.
Yeah.
If we'll try and figure out how to put that on there so people can link it there, or they could go to, what's the website again of your church?
It's thearksalina.com.
Okay, thearksalina.com. They can go on there and they can actually watch services. I was on there today, and it would be live.
Yep.
And your services are what times again?
8:30, 9:30, and 11.
Okay.
So Sunday we're moving to 8:30, 9:30, and 11. So trying 3 services, trying to minister to some people. So really good.
What's the you're pretty complete on what you're doing with the Thanksgiving thing, as far as we can move on, or anything else you want to add to that?
I tell our congregation, like, sometimes what people need in order to open their heart to God is just food. Is there a God that cares about me? Is there a God that sees my need? Is there a God? So we're trying to connect people to God even through something like food. So to me, it's very missional. It's very on purpose with, like, God loves you. There's even a couple ladies that every car, once they get food and they're leaving, a couple ladies just say, like, Jesus loves you. and it's just so sweet.
Yeah.
It's it's not corny. It's just like real pure, sincere, and I just love that. I love the simplicity. Even that Bible verse, like feed the hungry, help those in trouble. That seems pretty easy. So yeah, it's pretty special.
Cool. What's the future look like for you? Like if you could paint something, imagine if you watch this 5 years from now. What's your 5-year, maybe even a 10-year plan for the Ark Church? Where do you hope it goes, and what would you like to add for the community and your congregation? And what's what are you working on that's big? Anything come to mind of what you'd like it to look like?
A big part of what we do and why we do what we do is this concept of what if everybody that went to the Ark Church got raptured or they vanished? Like, would the city know? Would the city feel it? So next 5 years, like, I just want to keep being a light to this city. I want to minister. I want to help. I want to be a place where people can find hope, where they can find comfort, where they can connect with God, that we want to reach out beyond our four walls. So a lot of that, I don't know what it all looks like. I love the idea of ministering to children. I love the idea of ministering to youth. I love trying to help the community, serve the community. This summer we just did we call it Serve Day, and there's 24 different locations around Salina that we just went out. We did yard work, we did serving work, and there was 370 volunteers that came out and just said, hey, we're going to help people. So help different organizations, all that. So as far as the next 5 years, I just want to keep doing what I feel like God has led us to do. But it might sound dumb, but I don't know if I have like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. Or they keep telling me I'm going to have a bigger building, and I'm just like, oh man, we just got this one painted. Right. It's all kind of. We've only been in the building since.
How many square feet is it? It's huge, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's 36,000 square feet. So we got a good size auditorium.
Is the Buy Center for sale? I mean, the Tonys, we'll just put you in Tonys.
I don't know.
Speaking of that, you think of, have you ever been to, well, I'm not going to, who's the, Joel Osteen? Have you ever been to that church?
No.
No?
But, I mean, I don't think we could buy a Tony's Pizza Event Center. I don't think that's. We were there
say
though.
Never say never.
Right after COVID, we were in Tony's Pizza, whatever that's called, the little hall, whatever that is. But we had services in there.
Heritage Hall.
Yeah. For about 6 months. And so, yeah, I don't think I'll be buying. I don't think I'll be buying the Bicentennial Center.
Well, it's kind of, as I said, never say never.
Yeah, sure.
Honestly, I mean, you got to think of where you were at. Like, how long is that? 2016? Did you tell me that? When did you arrive back in this line? 2016.
So I moved back in summer of 2017.
2017,
mm-hmm.
And then you went right into Central High.
2018 January.
2018.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to think of from 2018 to 2023, where we're doing this today.
Yeah.
That's why I'm so impressed on there. What you've accomplished in that short amount of time to lead this community. What would you say your demographic is of that community? See, I think you're serving a lot of that 23 to 41-year-old. Would that be correct? Or what's your congregation age demographic look like?
It's a really great blend of Salina, honestly. We always prayed, like, we want to have a multi-generational church. So, like, I want grandmas and grandpas to say hi to little kids. I want moms and dads there. I want college students to see young adults. I want teenagers to see college students. So really, if you come in, you'll be very shocked. It's like, it's not just young people. It's not just, young couples or whatever. There's a great blend of, 60s, 70s, all the way down to 20s. You'll see some Kansas Wesleyan students. You'll see some Bethany students. People drive in from Abilene. They drive in from Minneapolis. They drive in from Ellsworth, McPherson, Lindsborg. So there's people kind of from all different walks of life and all different ages too.
Yeah. What's a day in your life look like then, managing all of that? Do you spend most of your time at the church overseeing day-to-day activities? Is your job to get out in the community and visit with your congregation to do that? Like, tell me what a day like that, what's your perfect day look like?
Monday and Tuesday, I try to stack all the administrative and meetings that I possibly can. because Wednesday, Thursday, I basically am writing a 20-page paper every single week. And so it's a 20-page paper that I'm trying to hear from God, trying to get the message he wants me to deliver to the people. And I take that really seriously. So I'll probably spend around 12 hours just kind of every single week, just praying, researching, studying, writing. So Wednesday, Thursday, that's usually what that looks like. Just kind of I'm blocked off. This Sunday I already have it recorded, so it's a video, Back to the Future clip, then me, Back to the Future, then me. So this week I have this open, but normally right now that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah, and so I thought about that on there. Is you've got to come up with the content every week.
Yeah, we just hired Nick Newberger, and he was a fourth grade teacher for, I don't know, 7 years or something like that. So he's like, well, what's our syllabus? And I'm like, well, we don't have a syllabus. Like we're trusting God. We're trying to connect people to God. So we're, what am I talking about in 4 weeks? I don't know. What are we talking about in 7 weeks? I don't know. So I'm just really dependent on the Lord. Just, he's leading us. He's guiding us. We have a little bit of a plan, a little bit of a structure, but as far as exactly what my day looks like, what that looks like, it's pretty flexible.
Yeah, cool. Anything else you want to add to what you're doing on there? What would you say for somebody who's listening since this is a community leader podcast, any serving that you've done on, do you even have time to serve on local boards or anything like that? Or is your service, you're giving the community, preparing everything that you do for, because again, you're doing a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have time to do other stuff community-wise, or what's that look like for you?
I'm currently the third grade flag football coach, so that's taken a little bit. I'm also currently the Salina Central varsity tennis coach. Okay. So I played tennis in high school.
See, that's why I love doing these, because then you learn. Like, I would have never have known that. Now, I did read that on there that you did play tennis, and you were the high school quarterback.
Yeah.
For Central.
Yeah.
Like some all-star had this credentials of everything you did. So
okay.
You were the stud, of the school, of the quarterback. And did you play with Pete Strohr? Would that be your same age bracket?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that's your age.
Pete was a sophomore when I was a senior. Okay. So we're on the same tennis team. We're on the same basketball team. Okay. I couldn't talk him into playing football, but thankfully we actually did win state. I was in an era where it was like Salina Central was amazing. So my 4 years in high school, we were in the state championship game 3 out of 4, and we won two of those. Yeah. So got a chance to win state senior year. So I also volunteer on the inflatable helmet crew that is at Salina Central too. So Friday nights, if you see that inflatable helmet, I'm down there. So I don't know. I just everywhere I go, I just want to be a light. So It's like I used to think when I went to college, I was undecided. I didn't really know what to do. My plan was, let's just be a teacher and be a role model. So I'll coach, or I'll just try to be a godly role model for teenagers. Some of the most influential people in my life were coaches, and so I was on that track. And then when I felt led to go into full-time ministry, it's amazing how God's always opened up doors for me to coach. So I've been a junior high football coach before. I've been a junior high basketball coach before. Now I'm coaching tennis, and now I'm coaching flag football.
And the inflatable helmet.
And the inflatable helmet crew.
That's your claim to fame now.
That's it.
That's when I do the post-production now, that's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
It's John Huseman. He's in charge of the inflatable helmet.
Just Central. For this year. That's it. Just for this year. I'm giving that away soon. So, yeah.
Well, those are the little things that I like. I mean, that's what it takes to be a community leader. It's the volunteering for all of the little things. Because if you didn't step up, who would?
Yeah.
And for somebody who's saying, look, I lead the Girl Scout troop of whatever it is, or I know some people doing some great stuff in a Cub Scout troop, and there may only be 15 kids in that Cub Scout troop, but if that person didn't step forward in our community to lead those 15 kids and take them camping and train them and show them and mentor them, and those are the people that make the community, what it is today, and that's what I want to do, is feature as many people like you who are making an impact in our community, and just to get to know you a little bit better. And I feel like that's the same way. It's like I know you. I knew who you were, kind of, knew a little bit about it, and then I was worried you started hanging around some people. You mentioned Guy Gross, and I was like going, well, should I? Although we just had him last week or 2 weeks ago, and but another guy doing some great stuff in the community. Yeah. And there's many, and there's some females that I have coming up. I'll tell you, one of the most difficult things is calling people on the phone. It's the time commitment. They don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And they don't. And the number one thing out of there is, oh, Todd, I'm terrible in front of the camera. I don't like to speak. I don't like to be in front of the spotlight. I don't, And then I tell them, look, there's only about 80 people going to watch. And
less this week. But
so it's so I hope you get the word out that you spread if somebody sees you on here get it out for them that you contact me and say, hey, this person's doing some great stuff. Because I've been able to meet people that I don't even know by the people that I'm interviewing. And they say, well, you've got to go talk to this person and you'll never guess what they're doing. And that's how your name kind of came up. And I was like, yeah, I do want to know more about him. And I know what he's doing in the community. And I told you, I was a little scared when I called you because I'm not saying I didn't know who you would know who I was, but I was like, okay, I don't know how this. Yeah, he may be like, I got 12 hours of a paper to write. I don't have time to go do your little podcast. But hopefully you see the big picture of what we're doing in the community.
Yeah, and I want Salina to be as great as possible. So I'm always like, man, how do we get great people in Salina? How do we get great leaders in Salina? I'm kind of like an all-in Salina guy. So I'm like, let's make Salina as incredible as possible. So I'm all for it. So it's an honor to be with you, honored to be here today. So.
Yeah, it's cool. So before I let you go, I got 3 more things to do. The first one is, and this one has to take less than 3 minutes. I've done this with other people, and it ends up into a 20-minute deal.
Okay.
Ready for this?
Sorry, Guy Gross. That's you. Right?
That's right, yeah. In 3 minutes or less, I want to know that if you had 24 hours left to live and you had to go to somewhere to eat with your family or whatever, what would be your last 3 meals? And Lindsay can't be one of the ones you cook with. Where does a guy like you hang out in Salina, Kansas for breakfast? So if you had given 24 hours left to live and you got all of your service and you were, you'd done everything you need to do, where would you eat breakfast at in Salina?
I really like the Prickly Pears brunch that they do on Sunday. So they got these like chorizo breakfast tacos. So that would be my number one And then honestly, like Chick-fil-A breakfast is great. It's like people don't know about the Chick-fil-A. It's the bowl. I don't know if you've ever tried it before.
I've never had the bowl, but they got the little chicken biscuit nuggets, but you can only get them till like 10. And
I know.
It's like
There's so many times I'm like, man, that sounds really good. And I look at my watch and it's like 10:35 and I'm like, So yeah, Prickly Pear if I could get it. But honestly, the Chick-fil-A has this breakfast bowl that is awesome.
Perfect. What about lunch?
I'm pretty simple. I usually am like a Chipotle guy.
Okay.
If I want a burger, I actually like Burger Theory. It's behind Holiday Inn.
Yep.
So that's a great place to go. If I want to get fancy, maybe I'll try to do a Barolo Grill and take Lindsay over to Barolo, something like that.
Yep. And then what about dinner?
Dinner.
Last meal you're going out on. What would it be?
I'm probably going to Martinelli's. They have an incredible steak. Not too many people know that, but they have this 12-ounce steak, and if you butterfly it, you can split it with your spouse or your date or whoever, and it's an incredible.
It's your
steak.
last meal. Take the whole steak.
That's okay.
I'm
getting all 12 ounces.
Yeah,
no one
all
else
12
is
ounces for you,
Yeah,
Lindsay. You got to get something else, but all 12 ounces going for you.
Yeah, there's a lot of great places in Salina.
It really
actually,
is. We got a ton of choices that are there, but it's interesting. It's just like I'm interested to know. I try to make it again. I'm trying to get the community to know who you are. You know, like who you
My daughter
are,
works at Martinelli's, so I'm like, I'm trying to get her in there. So
cool. Okay,
she could serve.
We got the community leader tattoo shirt.
Okay.
That we're going to give you, so you can wear this in the community proud.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Only people who are on here to get one of those.
Okay.
And then after I was watching your website today, I got to looking more in there, and we saw the video of the Thanksgiving thing. And so I wanted SalinaHomes.com to give you a little donation. So we're going to give you a $200 donation for the Thanksgiving
Appreciate it.
giveaway, for the grocery giveaway. And I would encourage anybody who watches this prior to November the 18th, if they felt in their heart after learning what the mission is that you really are doing for this community, if they would like to either volunteer. You don't have to have money. Like the donation would be great. You got to get the groceries.
Yeah.
But you can have all the groceries in the world, but if you got nobody there to serve it,
Yeah.
and it takes 4 hours for somebody to get through the line, then it just doesn't go as smoothly. So number one would be a donation would be great. Number two, if you can't find that, it would be if you were ever a recipient of something like that in your life and you say, hey, now it's time for me to give back. Could they just contact, rather than blowing up your phone or your email on that, who would they get in contact with at the church?
Just our website's the best. So
Okay.
if they go to the arksalina.com, there's this grocery giveaway right there on the front page. They click it and they can get everything they need right there.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, thank you.
This was
Appreciate it.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you for everything you're doing in the community, and I look forward to going to a Central game and watching the blow up
Yeah.
helmet. That's what I'm most excited about.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Have a good day. Thank you.